Welcome everyone. Welcome to the launch of the second edition of the ESDP Entrepreneurial Skill Development Program run through the Enrich project, the European Network of Research and Innovation Centers and Hubs USA. So today, the 23rd of July 2020, the session will give you an outline of the whole program, but we have the pleasure of having, it's a great pleasure to have Bob Smith. Now, Bob will be introduced briefly. While we are waiting for a few more people to join us, I invite you to take your mobile phone, or if you prefer, just open a side window from your browser and write www.menti.com. I can just show you briefly the slide with the code. So menti.com, it's on the right side of the screen, and add the passcode 97386. Okay, so this will allow us to have an interactive set of questions from the audience. So you will know more about who's present, what's their idea, vision, idea of a project, their state or challenges in innovation, but also to submit questions directly to the speakers as you will hear their presentation. And there will be a lot that you can ask, I assure you, because it's a great, it's really an honor to have Bob with us. Moreover, you will also be having an introduction of the whole Enrich program and of the ESDP, second edition of the ESDP. We just finished an assessment of the first edition. We just wrapped it up, and it was really successful. It really helped all the participants to improve their communication skill, to network, because the whole program, it's a gold mine of networking. You will be meeting incredible people. The ambassadors, well, I can't remember the exact term. Yes, we have people that you can speak to give you direct suggestions, idea to help you to network with others. And we will also have at the end, because she's now doing a specific project, one of the first participants to the edition, one of the participants to the first edition, so Manuela Saracino, who is, well, I'm sure you all know what astrocytes are. Well, if you don't, ask Manuela, because she is really an expert, a postdoc working on astrocytes. I can tell you, astrocytes are, we all have them. Yeah, I mean, most of us have them. They are connecting, helping. We all have heard of neurons and synapses. Well, the secret to make those work, apparently, through research, are these astrocytes. They are called astrocytes because they are like stars. They have more spikes. So we'll be speaking about that. But while I am kind of filling in, I ask the art direction and Claire if we can open the session completely.
Yes, please.
Yes, okay. So I'm already in the slide, and well, I will be moderating the session, so you will hear my voice and see me sometimes. But our guest main speaker is Bob Smith, and I kindly ask Mende Yangden from our ESDP team to briefly introduce Bob.
Thank you, Paolo. So it is with great pleasure and honor that I welcome Bob Smith, who is the director of I-Corps at George Washington University. At GW, Bob manages the strategic direction of GW's I-Corps and global lean startup programs. Prior to GW, he was the director of the Innovation Commercialization Assistance Program, or ICAP, where he worked with universities, accelerators, and local startup ecosystems, and he assisted in their new venture development initiatives. Bob has 30 plus years of experience in innovation and entrepreneurship, and as an executive angel investor and advisor, he has helped companies in e-commerce, e-government, identifier management, publishing, geospatial analytics, data science, and media to move from ideas to favorable exits. And Bob has also been a speaker in our previous first edition of the ESDP, and it is with very high demand that we bring back Bob this time as our keynote speaker for our launch. And we are all very excited to hear your presentation, Bob.
And Bob is also great fun. We can add that. So, but you will see and hear in a few minutes, because before giving the floor to Bob, I will briefly introduce the ESDP team and then have some questions. So we have as a team, I don't know if Joanna has a sore throat, but I assure you that when she speaks, it's like listening to the crystalline water of a stream. And Joanna is a team leader at the DLR and is together with Claire. Well, Claire, I now give the floor to the others who have the possibility of speaking. Claire, well, introduce yourself.
Hi, my name is Claire. I'm from Encura, National Council University Research Administrators. I'm currently a director of a global initiative at Encura. We're based in Washington, D.C., and our members are research administrators and research managers at 40 different countries, universities, research institute, and private enterprise, etc. And with this, I will hand it back to Paulo.
Thank you, Claire. And then we have a magician with e-learning and online activities. Well, Ilka, can you just briefly say a few words about yourself?
Yes, thank you, Paolo. My name is Ilka, and I'm from the DLR Project Management Agency. We are based in Bonn, but I'm now tuning in out of Cologne. And within our ESDP Online Academy, I'm responsible for promotional activities as well as the participant management, and I will be talking about the program later on.
Thank you very much, Ilka. And as part of the team organizing all the technical aspects, but also the communication, well, Mende, briefly introduce yourself. You already spoke and presented beautifully, Bob.
Thank you, Paulo. So my full name is Mende Thujiangdun, and I'm from Bhutan, and I'm working as a junior consultant with Paulo. And for the ESDP online program, as Paulo mentioned, I'll be helping with all the technical aspects as well as participant management with Ilka. Thank you.
Thank you, Mende. And well, about myself, I am a certified professional facilitator with the International Association of Facilitators, and I mainly work on future strategies, futurizing product and service development through my company called Futur, working all over the world, and it's a pleasure to be also collaborating with such a great team. Before we now give the floor to Bob, let's reflect and know a little more about who's listening, who's with us. We have how many participants connected at the moment?
20 plus.
Okay, so as I gave you the code, and I just remind people, the code is menti.com. You just on your mobile phone, menti.com or your browser, and then the passcode is 97386. The first question is just where are we connecting from? What country are we connecting from? Wonderful. As you start typing your information, you will see the results appearing. and the code for Menti is also written at the top for whoever is joining us right now. So if you want to submit your, so we have Germany, China, Italy, Greece, maybe it was the Czech Republic, Switzerland, yes, China, Bhutan, and here we can see there's 10 replies at the moment, 11. What was the next one? Oh yes, Cologne, maybe, yeah, the German. Just another few seconds to give you the time to send your questions. So I just remind the participants that to vote in this first part, which also helps Bob Smith to get an idea, because the next question will be more technical. So please send your answers to just make a tailor-made and much more focused to the point. Bob, you are with me, so we can also now comment specific questions together on the go. So I would say that now, unless more answers come, we have also people from Portugal, Finland, Czech, we said, Hungary. So welcome everybody. It's a very international group of participants. The next question is about the fact that you have the possibility throughout the session to submit questions to the speakers. To do that, you just have to add the surname. So if it's Bob, you would say Smith. If it's Claire, it's Chen. If it's, but anyway, add your question. And once the question appear, they will be shown on your mobile phone. You have the possibility of seeing all the questions from everyone else and vote them, so that the ones that get most likes go to the top and will be answered first. So you may also piggyback on other people's question. I will remind people to do this because the whole thing is really fast, but the moment you have a question, take your mobile phone, send it, and we will have a Q&A session at the end of Bob, and if more questions pop up, also at the end of the whole round. So this was just to remind you that throughout the session, you can submit a question whenever you want. Let's see also what sector you're in. Okay, we have people from government, academia, nonprofit, other industry. So this is like a snooker table. The moment you start getting more ideas coming in, more balls on the table, they will hit or mobilize the others. So we have quite a balanced group, still more coming. We have non-profit, government, academia, other, and I would give you another few seconds. Just this is an easy one. You just have to tap with your finger on the touch screen of your mobile phone and select which question which one represents you. Okay. So we have oh yes, I was just saying we still don't have someone from industry. So we have 3 people out of the participants from academia, 4 from nonprofit, 2 from government, 2 from other, and 1 from industry. I will now move on to the next slide. So you are here, you know, here the whole idea of the entrepreneurial skill development program is to help you transform your idea into something that then creates value. So do you have an idea for a product or service? Are you already reflecting on how to transform your research into something that can create value? So we are getting here 3 people that have a yes, and 5, that's 4. Yeah, it's moving up, changing. So do you have an idea for a product or service? I just give you another few seconds for anyone who has just joined. The way to give your instant feedback and polling is by writing on your browser or from the mobile phone, menti.com, www, it's at the top, and use the code 97386. So here we have people who don't yet have an idea for a product or service, but maybe have a great research activity on which they are working. Bob, do you want to comment this?
I will when I take myself off mute. No, I mean, it seems like it's pretty mixed. Love to hear from all of the attendees, of course, but just, you know.
We just move on and see from also from the next questions. Thank you, Bob. And next one, what is your sector of innovation or research? So you have medicine and healthcare, food and agriculture, e-commerce, retail, energy, electronics, IT, communication, entertainment, or other. So other. Well, out of curiosity, Bob, maybe you were going to say the same. Whoever has other, would it be possible for you to send your other into the chat of the GoToMeeting? You should see it in your screen. You have the possibility of submitting in your chat your comments. So it would be interesting for us also to have.
Yeah, lots of others.
Well, yeah, lots of others. So interesting. Yes. So we have one in electronic, one in e-commerce, 2 in medicine, healthcare, and many others. Please help us to know a bit more. Just send in the chat of the GoToMeeting that you have. So it's in between the different lines. You have the possibility to send your chat about what other is for you. And well, what is the stage in which your idea concept is in? Is it just still idea, basic research? Is it in the demonstration lab? And I couldn't now not read, but the last one was it, is it already a product or a service? So we have an idea for basic research, demonstration in the field, clinic, yes. And yeah, then there was validation and trials and production, yes. So the only one that is not, yeah, the demonstration is present. Field clinic, demonstration in the lab, animal is not, nobody from that session. So I give you another 30 seconds for this. So it's, again, I remind whoever has joined just now that if you want to, we want to know more about you so that you all know more about everyone else in the room. So to submit your replies, as you see at the top, when we have the question, menti.com and code 97386. So thank you very much. Bob, comments on this?
No, probably what I would have expected. I would imagine that if you launched your product or you're in production, you're most likely out there trying to sell it. So that's a good first lesson, is if you have something, go out and sell it.
Excellent. Thank you, Bob. So we have just a few more questions before I give you the floor. So as we are here to help, where do you need help? Is it in the engineering of your idea, in the business side, in the regulations and standard, more in the legal aspects, in the marketing? Here for this question, you can just distribute your percentage points. So you have a maximum of 100 tokens, and you can just say, well, I would say I would spend all my 50 tokens into legal aspects, or 20 here, 10 there, 12 in another. So you are balancing with the main. So if you have an idea, if you're doing some research, where could you need more help from our panel of experts? Other marketing, legal, regulation, standard. There's coming more. Okay. So at the moment, business support and funding is at the top. But funding has like a horse race. Funding has just overtaken business, and marketing is running behind. Yeah, marketing is running up. Legal is just on the fourth position, but it's our regulation has overtaken other. And let's see, in the horse race, funding is
Yeah, where's
most
the dark
probably the
horse
win.
in this one? Who's coming
Sorry.
from behind at the Who's coming from behind at the clubhouse turn here?
Yeah. Yes. Good. So let's say that funding and business are top. So you have just the right person as the speaker because Bob can give us a lot of insights on this. And all the other topics will also be tackled during the program, regulation, standard, legal aspects. Oh, business is running up. Yeah, we have given another. So maybe if
Never
I
count.
wait another.
He's a comer, that business. Never count him out. It's what
Yeah,
the race
you're
ain't
right.
over till
You're right.
it's
Yeah,
over.
maybe business will overtake funding at this point. Right. So just I think one or two more slides. Thank you really everyone for your contribution. So you all know more about everyone else. Funding, business, and marketing together with legal are at the top. So this is the last one, and then I give the floor to Bob. Which type of innovator are you? Are you an experienced commercialization researcher? Are you an experienced pure science with potential commercial? Are you a new researcher, or are you a pure science non-commercial? Maybe Bob, just you can, as it's one of the topics you are dealing with, is there an explanation that can help people understand more the
I will
different?
at the end of my talk give a highlight one of our George Washington University professors that is what I would put in that first category, experienced commercialization person. They've done 3 or 4 businesses out of their university position. But a lot of times I talk to new researchers, people that might be just entering, leaving their undergraduate or into their grad education, maybe coming in as a doctoral student. And so we see a lot of those kinds of people that are just trying to figure, well, what kind of research should I do? Should I do pure science? Some people are pure science. I've had many faculty that I've dealt with that just say, look, I just love the research. I'm not necessarily looking to commercialize it. But sometimes they come across something and they go, is there a commercial potential for this? So you see a lot of different cases. It's rare that somebody that is a pure science, and we're seeing indications of that, doesn't want to at least see their research used. But I also work with the Jefferson Lab here in the United States, and a lot of their scientists just want to figure out what happens at the atomic level, and they do nuclear physics, and they're not really so interested, or theoretical physics, and they're not really interested in commercializing that.
So here you have the picture of our participants. We have 3 with experienced commercialization researcher as a type of innovator, 3 with experienced pure science with potential commercial, and 4 new researchers. Welcome everybody. Now I pass you the presentation, Bob, and I will disappear in the background. May I remind you, everyone, that you can all, while Bob is speaking, but also on the basis of what you just heard, submit your Q&A within the Menti system. So questions are possible for everyone to be submitted while this activity is running. So Bob, it's your floor.
Good. Okay. Well, great. Well, thank you, everybody, and thank you, Paolo, and thank you to our kind hosts for asking me to come. So I'll get started. As mentioned, I run what's called the National Science Foundation's I-Corps program at George Washington University, and that means that I I teach lean startup, and I teach companies how to, especially faculty and researcher teams, how to commercialize their technologies. I've been doing that particular work for about 6 years now. And before that, I spent a lot of time almost exclusively as a startup entrepreneur. In fact, the only big company I ever worked for started out as I was the 100th person in, and I found out I wasn't so great in big companies, and I left to do more companies. Sadly, now I'm at a university, which is not a big, it's a big company. So this is really one of my first experiences being in that kind of environment. But anyway, I'll tell you a little bit about how we look at things at George Washington. We've sort of mapped out the innovator's journey, beginning with the basics of education. Those of you that are, just taking classes, hanging out, doing those things, all the way through an ultimate commercialization of research you've been doing that forms an idea that starts to turn into a business model, that starts to turn into a business that hopefully ultimately turns into what we entrepreneurs love, which is an exit. Exits are some kind of sale, or as we say, a liquidity event, meaning that you have cashed out, your investors get to cash out, or so forth. That's in the business environment. I saw a number of teams that were on not-for-profits or such. There's not necessarily exits in that, but the same, pretty much the rest of this pathway is fairly similar. So we break it down into three sections then, three phases of this development. And the first is kind of the investigative phase. It's the phase where you're just trying to figure out, first of all, learning the science. Secondly, isolating on a few things you're really interested in and pursuing at depth, and doing the kinds of research that produces things like breakthroughs that hopefully are great breakthroughs that turn into intellectual property of some kind, or they turn into ideas for businesses. That puts you into this incubator phase, and you can see the phases tend to overlap a little, so there aren't really clear cut and dried lines. And some of you may come in at this phase. You may have a business idea you're already working on. So it doesn't, there are different entry points to this continuum. But in the incubation phase, that's when you're doing things like working on your business model and working on trying to test and see if there's commercial potential for your opportunity. And then in the acceleration phase, you get into how do you prepare for the market? How do you make sure that you're getting ready to go out, and that you in fact have, you can prove you have a viable opportunity. Now, I don't highlight the execution phase, which is the final one, because we don't really get too much into that. So anyway, a couple of things before you start. And so one of the things I always talk to people about in thinking about their journey through this process is that your journey will always be dependent on you. Because the first thing I always say to an entrepreneur is, what do you want out of life? And I say it to the same person that ever wants to go down this sort of path, because that should really dictate a lot of how you go about it and what you want. And there's some questions that you should be asking yourself. Is, first of all, it helps to have an idea. Where am I on this continuum? What sector am I going into? That's what Paolo was talking about, some of those things. What access to resources do I have? Am I sitting alone in my basement like I am here now? Or am I out in an environment where I'm in a research-rich environment that's going to be the best kind of incubator, if you will, for my idea? What's your desired outcome? I always think that, one of the things I say to people, and I call them jokingly Bobisms, is, you can't really pick a good direction if you don't have a destination. I've tried. I used to be a navigator for a number of years, and I can tell you that if you don't know where you're going, every direction looks good. So you should kind of understand what you want at the end of that. And a big one, maybe the biggest one at the bottom, is your tolerance for risk. Not everybody is built for risk. I can tell you that I actually made a comment to one of the people that works for me yesterday, and we're going through, we're doing a lot of change because that's what I do, and she was a bit, sort of like, oh boy, this is, hard. And I said, no, this is what winning feels like. Winning is painful. Winning, you get about 5 seconds of Yahoo. The rest of it is pain, and it's risky, and you can fail. And so one of the things we always want to tell people when they start on this process is, failure isn't an option, it's a requirement. It's your daily habit. Wake up, fail, learn, repeat. So if you don't like that, if that's not the way you want to live your life, there are much more profitable ways of doing that. So knowing what you really want out of life is the key to success. There's your piece of philosophical wisdom for the day, but it really does apply in seeing, do you want to make this path and how? So for instance, what's your motivation? If maybe you want to save the world, maybe you want fame and fortune, maybe you want to just see if your ideas work. Maybe you want to feel secure and safe. Or maybe you want to, you don't love working hard on something. Maybe you love taking responsibility for your actions. Maybe you wake up every day and say, hey, it's on me. It happened, something went wrong, it's me. Or maybe you like to be rewarded for your performance. And so my guidance to people when they come into me and talk to me, and I checked on their motivation. If somebody tells me they want to save the world, I go, well, lower your expectations. You don't save the world. First thing an innovator has to understand is you're not saving the world. You're doing a very small thing that hopefully makes somebody's life better. And if that ultimately results in the world being saved, hey, good for you. But you can't really act on that. And we want to make sure that the people that are coming to us are developing plans they can act on, not just aspire to. Fame, forget it. I can't predict that. Or same kind of thing with wealth. People come to me and they say they want to be an entrepreneur. I used to ask in these things, and maybe Paolo the next time, is do you want to develop something because you want to be rich? And when people say sometimes yes, I say, well, go get a job in finance, because you can't predict it. I always tell people, if I could make you Zuckerberg, I'd be Zuckerberg. If you want to see if your idea works, if you have a passion for sort of seeing, well, I have this idea, I wonder if this works, you could be an entrepreneur, maybe. If you want security and safety, you don't want to be an entrepreneur. There is no security, there is no safety, there is no fame, there's just a lot of hard work. So if you like hard work, you might be an entrepreneur. If you love waking up and saying, it's on me, you're definitely in the strike zone for an entrepreneur. Entrepreneurs don't make excuses. If you're ever in a room full of entrepreneurs, experienced entrepreneurs, real entrepreneurs, not people that have done it, not people that talk about it, like me, I'm talking to you now, but I have done it. They will say that they all talk about their failures, and none of them are saying, oh, the dog ate my homework. They're all saying, I made the stupidest mistake. I'm such a pinhead. And it sounds like a bunch of woe is me, but it's not. It's sort of like, nope, nobody's to blame. I wake up every morning and I know it's on me. And the final is being rewarded for your performance. You want to see something tangible come back. Now, that doesn't necessarily mean money. It could mean fame, but fame is fleeting. No, you shouldn't want fame. But what you might want is a response. You might want, oh, I actually made that better. I can measure that I made it better. And that being rewarded for your efforts like that is a motivator for folks like us. So before you start again, remember that inventions and products don't matter. The only thing that matters are the people you're trying to help with those inventions. And that sounds trite and self-serving to say, but it really is a tangible reality. It is a real reality. If you go in thinking your invention is the center of the universe, you fail, because you have to understand the people you're trying to help. And so I'll give you an example. Here's one quick example. This is the Apple Newton. Now, most of you probably on this call weren't alive when the Apple Newton came out, maybe, but I was. I actually was one of the early owners of it. I was, and it was a pretty fascinating device. It was created in 1993. It was the first, what we used to call personal digital assistant from Apple that ultimately resulted in what you use now as an iPhone. But they invested huge amounts in it. They had really cool things like handwriting recognition, you name it. Lots of great functionality, lots of great integrations, everything you would expect now in an iPhone or a Samsung phone or whatever. But it was a dismal failure because nobody cared about it. The reason was they had handwriting recognition that didn't work. So again, they built a feature that was not only extraneous, but it didn't function well because they loaded it up with features. They charged too much for it. They didn't understand where the market was. They were trying to introduce a new paradigm for entry of data and such at a time when the keyboard was still state of the art. So needless to say that it was a dismal failure, but no good failure should be wasted. And Apple did learn a lot. Jobs learned a lot from this. So when they came out with the iPod and then ultimately phone and pad, they learned a lot from this and it helped them. So just being real clear, the customers you're trying to help, the people, the humans that you're trying to help, whether they're a customer and they're going to buy your product or a stakeholder that you're trying to get to. Ultimately, those are the people that determine the value. I know the theme of this was determining the value of your research. I can tell you, but it's always externally determined. You don't determine it. And so I'll talk to you a little bit about that journey and how these things shape up during that. So let's look at phase one, that investigation phase, okay? So what are you personally doing in that phase? Well, you might be doing a lot of stuff. You might be attending classes, for instance, and you're trying to get your degree. You might be conducting research, and you might have been working at it for a while, and you're curious about how that works in the real world, or maybe you're just starting a business, right? You just want to start a business. And we see all these different types of people at George Washington. So what's your commercialization strategy at this point? Well, the kind of questions you should be asking yourself are, what specifically am I trying to change? What do I think needs to be changed? And then what can I reasonably affect through this change? So for instance, you don't cure cancer, you don't end world hunger, right? But your research might be great into something like, I'll give you an example of some research that I worked on out of a lab at NIH, National Institute of Health in the US. And it was a way of converting chicken feathers into a receptor for phosphates, which cause water pollution. So I couldn't change the way that maybe poor communities filter water. I couldn't change that. I couldn't change the sewage system. I couldn't even make it that they're going to live healthy, happy lives. But I could change this very small thing of maybe making it easier to get pollutants out with a low technology solution. So that focus, that sort of understanding of a thing you really want to change as opposed to a broad sort of aspirational goal is part of the key things you should be talking to yourself about at this point. Now, the current state of the art is always what you're shooting against. You're always looking for, and you want to understand it because you only advance the current state of the art in some way. It could be a big way, it could be a small way, but without understanding that baseline you're operating in, it'll be very hard to judge if your invention really has value. And then how will you approach investigating both the domain you want to help, the science behind your innovation, and ultimately a solution that might go to be used in the real world. So the key for that is, again, another piece of great philosophy that I'm going to lay on you guys today, which is the bear joke. And in the programs I run, the bear joke is central to our entire worldview. So just so that you understand the bear joke, I will now tell it to you. So here it is. Number one, two people are running away from a bear. The first person says, I sure hope we can outrun this bear. And the second person says, I just have to outrun you. So always remember, in the innovation game, you're never creating something out of whole cloth. You're always improving upon the way things happen now. That's the essence of innovation. And again, I'm not saying it's not a big jump, or it could be a little jump, but it should be a measurable jump, because the value of what you're creating will be directly related to the measurable improvement over the current alternative. So some things you should think about in evaluating the thing you're creating is, are there existing alternatives in the market? One of the misconceptions people have is that if there's no competition, quote unquote, that's a good thing. I can tell you investors don't like that. Investors don't like things that have no competition because they can't value it, for one, and two, they know you probably didn't do your homework and you haven't researched it properly. The second is there a sufficiently large growing market or industry in the area you want to enter? And that's the sad thing about this sometimes, because the crazier your innovation, sometimes people can't wrap their brain around how it fits in the world, and that's a great challenge to have. What are the regulatory, cultural, or other barriers in the way? Even the best ideas, like I was showing you the Newton, can't break through because the world wasn't ready for them. Their customers weren't ready for them. But you may have something where the regulatory environment prevents you from getting to market anytime soon. So you really want to know those things before you start, and as you're informing your ideas and targeting your research. And if there are any current investment activity I deal with a lot of innovations that come from a lot of folks out of universities and out of the community at large that say, well, I want to go do this, and investors aren't investing in that sector. But maybe they're too late and the wave passed, or maybe they're way too early. So even if you have a great idea, and even if it can help mankind, and even if it can do all the great things you say it can, the people that will fund things may not understand what you're talking about, or may not have a reference point to go on, and they won't invest. Finally, what should your key objectives be at this point? Well, the first thing is to immerse yourself in the sector you intend to innovate. I can tell you that the truth of the matter is it's almost impossible to innovate an industry you know nothing about, or a situation you know nothing about. I mean, if I want to figure out how to make the automobile manufacturing plants work more effectively, or if I want to figure out a better way to get plows to farmers in Ethiopia, which is an actual project I looked at. Both of them actually are projects that come to mind, so I just didn't make them up. Without being immersed in that environment you're trying to innovate, you will not innovate well. So you have to live it. Wake up every day wanting to know, loving the thing that you're trying to understand. Start getting educated about the commercialization process. That's what I do, and we're always happy to help folks with that. Understand the support network you need to access, and start doing it. One of the things that I don't particularly always like about being in this in general with people is I'm not a real networker. I don't like small talk with people, which is why actually this COVID thing's working out for me. I'm in my basement, I get to talk, but I don't have to meet people, so I'm kind of shy that way. But you have to overcome that. You have to get out and meet the people that are going to help you understand your domain, and also help guide you through that process, and build your professional network. I mean, again, most of that, it goes around to your early objectives are immersing yourself in the problem in a way that's going to help you move on. You also want to understand the path to market you're going to take. The funding sources at this point will be things like grants. So you should understand, how do I get the grants? What do I need to do? Who do I know that's good at writing grants? What are the organizations I got to look at? How long does this path take? I can tell you the path to doing a software application is dramatically different from the path that you take if you're doing a new therapeutic. So you have to understand that, and be prepared for the time that it's going to take, and also understand the common milestones that are going to confront you. So that will help you not only sort of understand what you're getting into, but it will help shape your research and shape your idea. And I can tell you, most of the granting organizations in the university require some kind of idea of the commercialization potential of the research. That is a movement we've been on for quite a long time. I know that different cultures have a different view than Americans. Europeans, for instance, have always been much more geared toward basic research, fundamental research, as opposed to applied research. Whereas Americans, being who we are, we like to, build stuff. So we build stuff. So understand the environment you're in. Understand what grant writers are looking for. If you're in the U.S., they want to hear a commercialization plan. So that's phase one. So let's say that you've come up with the idea, you're ready to go, you're starting to put it together, and now comes the time when you're going to go and start to incubate that idea. So what are you doing during this incubation phase? Well, you're working at perfecting.
Bob, hello, Bob. Well, I am sure everyone is really curious, and I'm just going to cut you here because all the people who will participate will see the video of your full lecture with much more material than this, but this is just to be with the timing we promised to all the participants. But I take the opportunity. I mean, you can finish the slide if you want, but I take the opportunity just to remind people that there are lots of questions coming up in the Menti system, and then in a few seconds Bob will be replying to them. But you can also set your priority on the questions that you like most. So I give you the time also to reflect on the questions through the Q&A, and And while we do this, I just remind people that the code to submit your comment or questions for the Q&A is menti.com 97386. And Bob, yeah, just complete the slide. Sorry for that, but it was just to prepare everyone and remind everyone for the Q&A that will be in a second.
Sure. Is my screen still visible? I just want to make sure.
Yes, of course.
Oh, okay. So again, what are you doing at the incubation phase? Well, you should be perfecting the differentiating elements of the thing you're trying to innovate. Don't confuse that with product development. I mean, if you're developing intellectual property, the way that intellectual property works is it's not just a description of an invention, but it's a series of claims. Those claims tend to be contextual in the sense that and to make them stronger. So in other words, if I say that I'm going to create a new way to do webinars, that may not necessarily be strong intellectual property. But if I make claims about the invention that talk about the specific way slides are presented and so on and so on, that makes it stronger. So think about the things that, with some context about what you're inventing that make the intellectual property stronger and stronger. You should be lining up your funding resources, looking for collaborators, and ultimately look to protect the intellectual property you're developing. In terms of your strategy at this point, you really want to start thinking about who's that customer or who's that stakeholder that the innovation I'm developing is meant to help. And think small about this. In other words, think very narrowly and targeted, because specific is a much better thing for you than broad. So if you think about who the customer is really, you can start to define very specific things you should be working on. Also understand the benefit you're going to give the customer or the stakeholder, because the benefit is the reason you do things, not the fact that you can build something. It's the fact that it benefits someone that really is the most important. And then think about potential, who has the most immediate need, because when you can identify the most immediate need or the quicker time to help someone, that's going to be the thing that is going to most likely get funded, most likely get supported. If you develop something that could help somebody very far in the future, that doesn't mean it's not worthwhile to work on, but it may not be the easiest pathway to get funding. So let me think about something like autonomous vehicles. Autonomous vehicles are very cool. They will eventually, we know, be something that's very huge. But you see that the people that tend to be playing in them and getting investment and big grants and stuff like that tend to be well-funded, either large universities in basic research for that, or big companies like Google. So understand what where your technology is going to be and where your innovation best fits and who your best customer is. And the hint here is we will help you evaluate that doing the lean startup process. That's what NSF iCore does. So, yeah.
Questions? Okay. I will. Thank you, Bob. Thank you really very much. I mean, all these things are triggering our imagination, because we all have this dream of invention, but we always must remember that there's a lot of sweat for any result, and that doesn't look like sweat if it's part of your passion. So you can achieve a lot. So let's just shall I take the question screen? So I share my replies so that you can reply on the basis of the.
However you want to work it. Just go ahead.
Yes,
ask questions.
Yes. Okay. I'm going to share my screen. Right. So let's see the questions, and of course we are together here, and let's see the order, the ranking of the likes. And I remind everyone that they can still add more questions, or with the little thumbs see which questions they like most. So Bob, the first one is, how does this pandemic affect innovation from your observation and daily work?
Well, it doesn't have to. It does make it harder to get out and meet people, but it shouldn't change the work that you're doing, especially depending on the stage you're at. It is a very hard time to raise money right now because everybody's affected by this, but there are still things you can do, still ways that you can investigate, and still ways that you can advance your efforts, and that ultimately will bear fruit. So that's the best thing I can tell you.
Maybe it's also creating opportunities in terms of new products and services that may emerge.
But that is, if you're in the vaccine world, it's a great time to because everybody's waiting and they're throwing lots of money at it. Some of the things will be transitory. This wouldn't be there's lots of people investing big time in personal protective gear. That may be a good thing in the short term, but if history serves as an indicator, it won't be a long-term benefit.
Okay, so let's mark this question as answered. Which phase in the innovation journey is the most critical? You described the three main steps, when you are starting, and according to you, which one is the most time consuming, difficult?
It's impossible to answer because you have to take into consideration what the innovation is, what the stage of it is, how close it is to the market. I mean, you can see somebody spending 10 years of their life perfecting something in the lab that then goes to market. If it's something in the biomedical space, you may get the thing off of the lab, but then you might take 10 years to get it approved by regulators. At the same time, sometimes you launch a company and it doesn't happen, nothing really happens much in it for 5 or 6 years, and then it takes off. It's so dependent on a lot of factors you can't justify. So really, the commitment has to be the same through all of them, and you can't be predictive completely.
Absolutely. The way you were presenting, though, the first step is when you define your objective, that of course you can reset your objectives as you go, but that's, when you really decide where to go, it's probably quite a complex time, and then it keeps being complex.
It never gets easy.
It never gets easy, yeah, but it can be fun.
It's always fun.
So let's see the next one. How do you connect to the people you want to help so as to know what invention or product to develop? Maybe this can be a kind of mentoring or coaching to better define. Is there this kind of service where, because you mention it as one of the suggestions, who can one meet?
So the first place to start is if you're in a university environment, like a student or something, then I would recommend taking every advantage of programs your university might have on commercialization, whether it's the tech transfer office or whether it's an entrepreneurship organization. I would look at professional organizations in your area of expertise, both inside of academia and out. Going to conventions and walking trade show floors, or going to webinars, or in a COVID world, joining groups. The key is to get to start getting involved. I've found generally, as a rule of thumb, every new thing I start is uncomfortable for the first 6 or 8 months, and then after that it starts to get more familiar, and by the time you're in it for a year or two, you're very comfortable. You know a lot of the players, you know how it works. So it really is that's the immersion phase I was really talking about.
And maybe we can also suggest that the entrepreneurial skill development program is also placed because you get in connection with such a expertise and people that.
Yeah, when you do it with me, though, we just send you out and tell you to talk to people. So it's not
well,
it's
that's
not a
already, it's like saying you have a map, the others don't. So that's precious to know. Thank you. So the next one, and I ask also our art direction of the whole process if we still need to be a bit faster with the time. How to understand my tolerance of risk? You say before getting into such a thing, you need to understand Is there a way? Are there some tools? There are some exercises?
I think there probably are. I'm not an expert on that. I would tell you that I always think self-reflection is the way to do that. If you, you know, if you operated a lemonade stand when you were a kid, or you were always looking to do jobs around the neighborhood to earn a couple of dollars, or if you ran for class president and did something with it as opposed to just a popularity contest, you're probably somebody that has a good tolerance for risk. You don't mind being out there and you don't mind failing, and that could be an indicator. You know, it's sort of self-reflection is always a big thing, but I'm sure there are Myers-Briggs like testing that you can do that sort of says where you fall in the spectrum.
Excellent, excellent. So try out, go around, do things, practice, get out of your comfort zone, and you'll understand. And also there are some tests. Let's see the last two questions. How do I know when I need to pivot in order to move forward?
So you need to pivot when the world tells you to pivot. And so the way we do it is we send you out there to talk to people, and as you're talking to people, you find that they keep telling you the same thing over and over again. That's normally an indication over time, if the evidence piles up, that you pivot. That's really it. I mean, and look, that's what you use your advisors for. They help you understand when to pivot. They help you understand how to pivot. But they shouldn't tell you to pivot. Your stakeholder customer should do that.
Excellent. Last question. And how do you understand what you want? Is there a help desk to be coached in this?
Nope.
No.
Nope.
So
that comes.
Thank you.
Know thyself. First rule is know thyself.
Know thyself.
Or at least know a good imitation of who you want to be. So.
Thank you really very much, and it's great to have you with us in the entrepreneurial skill development program, Bob. Stay with us now also for the completion, and I will introduce Claire Chen, the director of Encura, who will briefly talk about the Enrich program and all the benefits of the Enrich program. So Claire, if you want, the floor is yours. Yes, perfect. Thank you.
So thank you, Paulo. Thank you, Bob, for this great kickoff for our second edition public lunch. As Bob and Paulo have mentioned, we already done this for the first time already by Enrich in the USA. And just to give everyone a very brief overview of what's Enrich in the USA, we are the European network of research and innovation centers and hubs in the USA. We are funded by European Commission under Horizon 2020 framework, and we are truly a global network. Under the Enrich network, we have currently Enrich in Brazil, Enrich China, and Enrich in the USA. The ESDP will be brought to you by Enrich in the USA. Our vision is to create self-sustaining network and centers and hubs in the US to help and support European research and innovation actors. Through the trainings and technology innovation customization bootcamp, sector information webinar like this, we aim to strengthen the ties between Europe and US in innovation market. In the next slide, you will see we have currently the list of our partners. Why is this important for you to know? That we want to share with you our expertise and network. Our partners network will become your network. So we currently have 3 partners in US, EAEC, Encura, and BIA. And we have partners in Europe who are from associations, European governmental agencies, and also for innovation consultant firm. And in the next slide, you will see the network and the current map of where we are physically. So we physically have 3 centers. One in San Francisco. Our West Coast Center is managed by our partner EAEC. The other one, the East Coast Center, based in Boston, managed by NBIA. and also newly launched Washington, D.C. Center managed by Encura. Outside the 3 physical centers, we also have 7 selected landing hubs to provide the customized network and industry to help whatever your research need is. And we can talk about a little bit about the journey. The Enriching USA company researchers and innovators along with your innovation journey by providing services at different stages of your expansion process, which will include sector-specific bootcamp, training program like what we are promoting now, the entrepreneurial skill development program. Well, Ika and Mende will talk a little bit more about that. And also match and pitch training, innovation tour, etc. And please stay tuned for our website. And also we have a service webinar tomorrow, starting at 4:30 Central European Time, to talk about the services and opportunities that Enrich is currently providing. And now with that, I will give the floor to Yoka and Mende to talk about the upcoming exciting opportunity of entrepreneurial skill development program.
Yes, thank you, Claire. But before we dive into our program, I just want you to take a look at this poor guy here. And maybe you can relate to some of his questions, like, for example, to whom can I talk? Or how to deal with funding and sponsoring? And what about licensing?
And this is where the Entrepreneurial Skills Development Program Online Academy comes into play. The ESDP Online Academy will be a 4-week online applicative and practical training that will give you the right entrepreneurial mindset and the soft skills and the hard skills from the start of your research to you wanting to commercialize in the US. So in the next slide, as you will see, if you are an early to mid-stage career EU researcher, plus you are enthusiastic to commercialize in the US at some point in the future, this is the perfect program for you. Our mission is twofold in this for this program. First of all, we would like to give you the necessary skills, training, and networks to succeed in the US. And the second part of our mission is that we want to encourage and facilitate bold innovation and entrepreneurship.
Exactly, and this is how we structure our entrepreneurial journey, or basically your journey. So every week of our online academy will include 4 main parts, as you see here. And we will start our week on Thursdays with a video lecture. And this video lecture will be held via GoToMeeting, so using this tool. And we will be approximately 45 minutes long with a Q&A session at the end. And every video lecture will touch upon a specific topic of the week and will be brought to you by leading experts from the US. And we really have recruited bright minds just like Bob today. Thank you again, Bob, for your wonderful presentation. And experts just like Bob will give you insights, unique insights into their field of research. And after each video lecture, you will receive a small individual assignment or homework, so to say, in order to follow up on the content you have received during the video lecture. And here you will have the unique possibility of receiving a one-on-one feedback with one of our mission specialists. And though these sessions with our mission specialists can be scheduled individually over the course of the week, and will give you further opportunity to learn from experts in the field. We will then end our week with an interactive crew session on Wednesdays. And here really the whole crew comes together and can discuss the content of the week and share best practices. Within our last edition of the Online Academy, we really had deep discussion on, for example, slogans, and it was a really personal space just between us and the and our pioneers. And we had a great discussion on Wednesdays, and Paolo will be there with us, our rocket pilot, so to say, and facilitate these sessions. The whole journey will be supported by a learning management system where you can connect with your cohort, find important pre- and post-learning documents, and also further information. And you can also reach out to the crew there. And this is really just a short overview about the topics we will be touching throughout the ESDP Online Academy. But please be aware that this program will be tailored to your needs. And we will, really go with your flow and touch on topics you are interested in and maybe change a little bit. The content might be altered, but nevertheless, we will touch upon some basic areas, as you can see here, like, for example, the commercialization strategies, intellectual property management, or funding fundamentals.
And as Ilka had already touched on a little bit, I'm going to kind of expand on our mission specialists. So one of the things that makes this program quite unique is the opportunity to access our pool of what we call mission specialists or mentors. And our mission specialists are really experts in their own field, and they are essential contact points that will guide you and mentor you, not only during the process of the program, but also post-program. And our mission specialists, range from, as you can see, from quantum technology to compliance to science diplomacy to new venture development. And as we move on along the program, we'll be adding even more mission specialists as well. And I really do think that this, the fact that participants can access this pool and network of very, very qualified and distinguished individuals is quite a unique part of our ESDP Online Academy. And to guide you through this entire process, I'm very, very happy to introduce you to our crew members. So from our European side, we have Joanna, who's also the team leader of DLR, and also Ilka, who is the scientific officer also at DLR. And from the other side of the pond, working from the US, we have Miss Claire Chen, who's this Director of Global Initiatives at Encura, and myself, who is a junior consultant at Future, who's working with Paulo. And we are basically the people that you come to if you to help you guide you through this whole program. And if you have any technical difficulties, anything, we are the people that you come to and hopefully that we can answer your questions and guide you smoothly through the entire course of the program.
Exactly. Thank you, Mende. And so what do you need to take away today? Basically, the most important step will be to register for our full 4-week ESDP Online Academy. You can do this via the link there. We will also send around the registration information after this webinar. As a next step, we will conduct then individual strategic calls with you to discuss your expectations, wishes, and needs. And then on August 5th already, we will have the onboarding session with our first cohort. This will include an introduction of the team and the members, and we can get to know each other there. And we will give you more detailed information about technical prerequisites, logistics, the timing, agenda, all those kind of things. And only one day later, we will start with the takeoff and the first video lecture. So here again, you can find us. This is where we are. We are on Twitter, Facebook, LinkedIn, and YouTube. And again, the registration link, most importantly. And please do not hesitate to reach out if you have any questions.
Thank you very much, Mende and Ilka. And just to connect to what you were saying, I don't think you mentioned, Ilka, say just 1 second, but if I'm right, the whole thing that you have been talking about, and there are not 2 zeros missing, is a kind of, at the moment, there is a kind of a possible contribution of the minimum is what? Tell me the minimum. 39
so
euros.
We actually,
euros, not
yes,
million
exactly.
euros, 39 euros. And 59 euros or 79 euros. But did you miss 2 zeros? No, no, it's not.
No, we did.
But the value is exactly 100 times more. I can assure you, and you will also hear in a few seconds. Also one of the participants who will talk about it. So it's because we are within the framework of a European and together with the US collaborative activities. So this is possible. And just to answer to the lab, before I give the floor to Manu, one of the pioneers from the first edition, just there was one last question, and it was relating to the fact of finding your own purpose. Well, as part of the activities we are going through the onboarding and throughout the process, we are also helping all the researchers to find their vision and motivation. So Manu, just what's your experience? Your microphone is a bit low.
Oh, I try to.
Yeah, excellent, excellent. Where are you now? I can see labs, connectors.
Yeah.
Are you with the astrocytes? Are they there?
Yes. So first of all, good afternoon to everybody from Italy, and thanks to all of the Enrich members. Just to present myself to all the people connected, I'm Emanuela Saracino, and I'm coming from Europe, from Italy, and in the specific, I'm now in Bologna in the CNR. Where I'm a research fellow in the Institute for the Organic Synthesis and Photoreactivity. This is our lab that you can see, maybe a part of it. And I'm here because I'm joined to this first appointment as one of the member of the first edition of the Enrich in the US. And I spent almost 2 months, the last 2 months, with all the crew of the Enrich, meeting all of them 2 times per week. One was a really interactive meeting, and one was a lecture given by different specialists, as that of Bob Smith of today. So I have the honor to be part of this first edition, and I just received a few days ago my final certificate of attendance of the Enrich in the US. There, during these 2 months, I met 3 guys from 2 of them, like me, coming from Europe, and one from Maryland University. They were completely different in the field of my research, because they were more informatics and more in engineering sectors. I can define differently myself as a more pure scientist specialized in neurophysiology. So the first suggestion is that even though we come completely from different fields of research, this was really more stimulant for all of us. All of us have different and enthusiastic brainstorming during the interactive lessons. And it means, first of all, that everybody could join to the academy and find support from mentors and from the specialists you will meet, as Bob Smith do today, as example. And this lecture about how shaping our business idea was also the first for me, and was the first bullet of my shaping idea about what me, my colleagues, and my PI, Valentina Benfenati, are developing with our beautiful study on astrocytes that are real cells of the central nervous system, and how big is the contribution we give to the knowledge of brain function and dysfunction, and how big is our potential in the application of our study to the biomedical market in the future. And especially because neurodisease represents, unfortunately, one of the biggest and increasing social life problem. Just to give you a short overview of my experience with Enrich, what I'm doing in the lab is that we try to uncover the mechanism at the base of some function and dysfunction of the central nervous system. We use a multi-scale approach and try to validate materials and interface and advanced biomedical device to reveal and understand the molecular and cellular mechanism of astrocytes neuron glial signaling. What Enrich Academy gave to me? The Enrich Academy gave me the possibility to receive support online with specialists coming from the biggest US university and companies, who gave me the fundamental information about the commercialization, the economic US system, the patent and the intellectual property knowledge. And during these months, you can learn how to have also a good pitch of few minutes to present your basic idea, to convince someone to become your partner or customers, or learn how to require and find or how to require funding from US by government or not just from government. And you will always feel free to ask and to connect with the mentors, receiving them live sessions and support. And also, I know now something more about the opportunity that US offer to the European researchers and to spread our knowledge between innovators coming from the US university and companies. And the last thing that I want to add is that the marketing aspect and the basic skills on how to build and to have a business idea is a big win and a big challenge for also for the academic researchers and pure scientists, and not just for people already involved in the commercialization. So thank you. And all of you can connect with the page and the link of the Enrich in the US to have all the information about it.
Thank you very much, Manuela. One can just sense and feel your enthusiasm. Stay with the camera. I remember that one of the things you said when we were doing the closing, that is that you also, you know, that for many of us, the idea of going to America is like a big, you know, and now
like
you are
dreaming.
Yeah, an American dream. And now you actually are planning to move, if I remember, because most of the research labs connected to your area of research are close to Baltimore. So you said that this, the ESDP, the Entrepreneurial Skill Development Program, triggered this, you know, now you are ready to and feel that it's the right thing to do. Is that correct?
Yeah.
Well, what a wonderful thing. And we were together for 2 months, but we will keep in touch. I invite all the participants, so our guest keynote, Bob Smith and Manu stay together. We just do a final bow to everyone. And so Claire, Mende, Ilka, and although she's not connected, she's with us, Joanna as well. And so this is just to do, like in the theater, bow to everyone. And remember that you just cannot miss this opportunity. You will get the link after the meeting. Register, because you know we can make miracles with you.